Hello learners and welcome to a natural sciences lesson. So today we're going to be dealing with practice questions and application questions that are based on the generation of electricity. So starting with the practice questions, the first question given to us is, why is electricity or why is it important for the world to find renewable sources of electricity? So why do we then need to find these renewable resources or renewable sources of electricity? Remember that currently we are using coal as our main source of electricity or our main source of generating electricity, and that comes with its own disadvantages. Number one, we know that coal can cause pollution, and the gases that are produced from the burning of coal is one of them is carbon dioxide, which is a greenhouse gas. We can even go as far as talking about the sulfur dioxide, which is also another gas that can also dissolve in the atmosphere to produce the acid rain. When it rains, we can have the acid rain. So those are the disadvantages of using the coal as the main source of electricity generation. So why is it then important to find other sources that are renewable in order to produce electricity? So the renewable sources of electricity, they do not produce the greenhouse gases. As we have said, the one that we are currently using, coal, it produces the greenhouse gases, and it can also cause environmental hazards by producing the acid rain as that sulfur dioxide dissolves in the atmosphere. So the renewable sources of electricity, they do not produce the greenhouse gases, which can cause the climate change. Remember that climate change can be caused by global warming when we are producing that carbon dioxide from the non-renewable resources. Furthermore, we have said that when we are using coal, there is a lot of pollution that is going to be caused. As we have said, the carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas which can cause global warming. So therefore, by finding alternative sources like wind power or even hydro or even water, using the hydroelectric power plant, we are going to be limiting the pollution that is going to be caused because none of those alternative sources are producing any greenhouse gases, or none of them are going to be causing any pollution because there is no fuel that is being used in any of them. So therefore, it's very much important that we find other alternative sources of electricity. Number two, we need to now list two waste products formed by thermal power stations. So thermal as heat, so basically when we are heating or when we are burning something, when we are burning, for instance, coal, what are the two waste products that are going to be formed when we are burning coal in these power stations? First of all, carbon dioxide. We do know that as we are burning the coal, what is going to be produced as a waste product is going to be either our CO2, our SO2, or even our NO2. All these dioxides, all these oxides, they are going to be produced, and therefore they are going to have a negative environmental impact. Some of them can cause acid rain, and some of them can even cause global warming. So the two waste products formed by thermal power stations, we have said, is carbon dioxide, and then number two, it is going to be dust. Now remember, when we are burning this coal, there's going to be some particles of dust which are going to be formed as this coal is burning, and that can also have negative impact because it can even cause asthma to certain people that live nearby this power plant or people that are working with this power or on this power plant and also working around that particular power station. So question 3 is asking us to explain the dangers of the waste produced by nuclear power stations. Now, we need to know that the waste that is produced by the nuclear power stations is the creation of radioactive waste. So remember, the waste that is produced on these power stations, we are basically creating the radioactive material. And remember, radioactive materials, they can have also negative health impacts on people and also even the animals that are living around that particular power plant. Remember that these particular substances, the radioactive material, they can cause cancer. So they can have that negative health impact on people living around and also the animals that are living around that particular power plant. So we have said that The waste produced by the nuclear power plants is the creation of radioactive waste such as uranium, which can be dangerous to human health for thousands and thousands of years. So whatever material that is being produced by these power plants, it is radioactive, and if it remains there, it is going to be damaging that environment for thousands and thousands of years to come. So therefore, it's very much important to make sure that when we are disposing of these waste products, or of these byproducts, we are disposing them in a manner that is not going to, or that is going to at least minimize the health hazards or that dangerous negative impact that it has on humans. Question number 4. Explain why electricity transported by power lines needs to be at a very high voltage. So remember, we have said that this electricity is generated in the power plant when that generator rotates. Now, as the generator rotates, it is going to produce the electricity which needs to be transported through the power lines from the power plant into the factories and also into the houses. Now, that electricity is transported at a very high voltage. So why does that happen? And number 5, we also need to be able to explain what is meant by load shedding. So to answer those questions, first one, the electricity needs to be transported at a very high voltage because we are trying to minimize the energy loss as electricity is being transported from one point to the next. So for us, in order for us to be able to minimize that energy that is being lost, remember, as we are transporting energy from one point to the next, we are losing approximately 15% of it is lost through thermal energy. So therefore, to minimize that energy that is going to be lost, we need to be transporting it at a very high voltage from one point to the next. Now, what is meant by load shedding is when the supply of this electricity does not meet the demand, we're therefore going to institute the load shedding, whereby now we are trying to ration the electricity from one section to the next. So basically trying to make sure that each and every area is, or at least gets some sort of electricity from the one that you have currently generated. So therefore, this electricity being transported from one point to the next point, if it's not enough, we therefore need to institute this thing called load shedding, where we are rationing the electricity supply to make sure that each region at least gets some sort of electricity for a certain period of time. If load shedding is required, Eskom's National Control Center instructs its stakeholders, that is now the municipalities and customers that it sells electricity to, on the stage of load shedding required. And then the duration of load shedding will depend on the specific supplier, that is now Eskom or the municipality, the region, and the circumstances. So if we need more energy, that means the load shedding, the stages of those load shedding are going to be longer as compared to when we need less energy. As we have said, when the supply is not equal to the demand, when the demand is high, the stages of load shedding are going to be much more higher. And that would mean the load shedding is going to last for a bit of time. Now, with all of that said, we're just going to quickly go for a short break, and I will see you just after this.